Welcome to Life with the Nelsons.
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to our channel, and we are the Nelsons.
Yeah. Welcome to Life with the Nelsons.
Exactly. So we are here in this quarantine life in our comfy hoodies.
Yeah.
But I had to put on a little face for you guys because I haven't done so in a very long time. Been here looking like a bum. Ignore my hair. I need to take it out, but hey, I can't get a hair appointment, so we are here to bring to you guys our birth story. So we are excited to finally share with you guys our birth story. We finally got settled in. Bryson is home. Then we were hit with this whole, virus situation. And so we've been preparing for that, taking Bryson back and forth to his doctor's appointments, but he's doing amazing. He is still on his oxygen because they had to push back our appointment. Is he crying? No. He's still on his oxygen because we had to push back our appointment, but he's doing really well, thriving. So we're really excited about that. Other than that, being parents, and Brandon has been super busy with work, with everything going on in the world. And he is the HR guy. So he's been having to tackle every issue that comes their way. So he's been doing a great job.
Sorry, I'm listening for the kids too.
Right. Bryson is sleeping and Kendon is doing what Kendon does.
Yeah.
I think he got some Legos or something. Here he comes. Wait, we hope you guys are staying safe.
Yes.
We hope you guys are being very sanitary and staying in the house.
Yeah.
It's very important that we just stay in the house and wait until this thing blows over. Continue to pray for your loved ones and everyone who has to be out there, the essential workers. So shout out to y'all.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we're gonna get back into this birth story.
Yeah.
So from the beginning, so just to let you guys know, I didn't have any complications during our pregnancy. Up to, I had an appointment a couple days before I actually went into labor.
The day before.
Really was the day before?
It was the day before.
You're right, it was that Friday.
Yeah.
So I had, I went for, no, it wasn't my appointment.
It was a glucose test.
Right? My appointment was on Thursday, and my glucose test was on Friday. So I went and did my glucose test on Friday, and that evening, I started to feel like some cramping, but I just thought it was round ligament pains. When I had my first son, I went to the doctor for everything, and they were always like, oh, it's just round ligament pains or da-da-da-da. So in my mind, I'm like, it's just round ligament pains. It's nothing too serious, whatever. So my back started hurting, and I normally have back issues anyway. The baby wasn't that big yet, so he wasn't even that heavy. So I just counted it to sciatica or something of that sort. So I was having those pains, but I just pushed through them. I don't even think I took Tylenol or anything. I just kind of like laid down.
Yeah.
But all through the night, I kept having to use the restroom. And every time I would use the restroom, it seemed like the pain would subside. So I was just, I don't know why I didn't think it was more serious than what it was. But I think I just was psyching myself out. I had talked to a friend the day before, and she was kind of having the similar pains, and she was pregnant as well. She went to the doctor, and they were just telling her like, oh, it's just round ligament pains, just drink some water, lay down, whatever. So I was doing the same thing. Next morning, that Saturday, I woke up and I was feeling a lot better. I talked to my friend. She's like, just drink a ton of water. So I did that, and I was like, if I drink water and I feel better, then I'll just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Drank a ton of water. I felt fine. So then we were actually scheduled to go tour our new home and do a walkthrough and see how everything was progressing. So I was getting ready for that. We were getting ready for that.
Yeah.
And it was about like 10:30 or 11 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And I was like, babe, I think I peed on myself. TMI. I was like, I think I peed on myself because I was just kind of like leaking a little bit.
Yeah.
And so he's like, really? And, I was just like, whatever. So it was just a little bit. So I'm like, okay. So then we go to, but I did this is TMI as well, sorry, but I just, for the sake of the video, the doctor always says that if you can fill up a pad, then your water broke. So I took one with me. When we got to the where the house was, we went into the office and I was like, I have to use the restroom. So I went to the bathroom and I put the pad on just in case, just to see what was going on. And we started walking over to the house. They said, oh, do you want to drive over there? It's literally like the next street over. I was like, oh, no, I can walk. We always walk over here. I can use the exercise, whatever.
Yeah.
So we started walking and we get around the corner and I started feeling this sharp pain in my side. And so I'm like, oh, that was weird, so I just keep walking. Then I feel like I'm leaking again. So I'm like, oh, babe, something is going on. Like, we need to call the doctor. Well, what Doc said, I think he said.
No, so you just kept pushing through it. And he's like, I don't know why I feel like I'm peeing on myself. And I said, well, let's, if you still feel that way in the next 15, 20 minutes as we go through the tour, let's just call the doctor and we'll tell him what's going on so that he can advise us accordingly.
Right. So we get in the car, we call the doctor. Yeah. And he's like, come in right now. He's there. He's already there delivering babies and doing what he does. So he calls, or we call and talk to him. And he's like, no, just come in right now. So we go over to the hospital, which is Corona Regional. Corona Regional is a small hospital. It's been here forever. It's the only hospital in the city of Corona. And so we go there and I get there, there's nobody at the front desk. I'm like, when I walk in, I'm okay. When I get to the counter, I'm like doubled over. I'm like in pain.
So pause. I dropped her off because we wanted her to go in immediately. So I pulled around, dropped her off at the front of the emergency entrance, and then Kendon and I went to go park the car.
Right. So they went to go park the car. So I'm in there by myself.
Yeah.
So I walk, I check in and everything. But then when I get to the labor and delivery unit, there's nobody at the front desk. I guess they're short staffed or whatever is going on. Kendon, please go sit over there. Go sit over there. So I guess they're short staffed or whatever. So I'm there like knocking on the desk, like, can somebody come help me? So finally the lady comes out and she's like, oh yeah, we're short staffed today. Sorry, da da da. I'm like, look, I'm 25 weeks pregnant. I'm not sure if my water broke. I'm leaking fluid and I'm in a lot of pain right now. I feel like I'm having contractions. So then they're like, okay. So they immediately put me in a room. My husband's still parking the car. He has Kendon with him. Yeah. Mind you, kids can't come back there. So, I think I called him. Before I called him. So they're checking me, to see like if I'm dilated. They took all, my vitals, all that stuff. Then they check me to see if I'm dilated. And they're like, well, let's see if your cervix is open, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, it feels like you're about 1.5 centimeters dilated. And I'm like, what?
Right.
So I'm like freaking out. I'm like, there's no way. I'm 25 weeks. Like, what do you mean I'm dilated? So I call my husband. I'm like, they're saying I'm dilated. They're going to check to see if it's if my water broke or if it's some other type of fluid. So they took a sample to test the fluid, but they said it's going to take a couple hours for it to come back. Mind you, I'm still sitting there in this like
reception area.
Not a reception area, but it's like a room where they go. It's not an actual like hospital room for delivery. Mm-hmm. It's like a waiting room where they go just to check your vitals. Like if you go into labor and delivery and say, hey, I'm having a little pain, they check you there. If you're good, they send you home. If you're not good, they check you in and put you in another room.
Yeah.
So because they were so short staffed, no one was there to register me or to check me in. So they kind of just take my name and they're like, oh, when she comes back, which the baby crying? Sorry about that. The baby was crying. So he's back to sleep now. What was I? Where was I? So I'm in the room.
They just checked your cervix.
Yeah, they just checked my cervix. So I called Brandon and I'm like, look, babe, they're saying that I'm 1.5 centimeters dilated.
She wasn't that calm.
Actually, I know I'm freaking out. Of course I'm freaking out.
Yeah, well, I mean, we want to tell them the birth story.
Okay, so I'm freaking out. So, yeah, I'm freaking out because I'm like, that's where I was. I'm only 25 weeks. Mm-hmm. There's no way I didn't have any complications during this pregnancy. I just went to the doctor and they said everything was fine. Yeah. Um, so I hadn't, of course, I hadn't got anything back from my glucose test, but after the fact, I did find out my glucose was fine. So I'm just like, what is going on? So in my head, I'm just like, Lord, please help me, please help me. I'm like, this can't be real. So I'm telling the nurse, I'm like, so what do you do? Can you stop it? Am I in labor? Can you stop the labor? And she's like, yeah, so we're going to try to do some things to stop the labor. We're going to give you this shot and this fluid and da 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 da. And so they're like, the first thing they want to do is to, they gave me a shot. I forget what the name of the shot was, but it was to help develop the baby's lungs. In case that there was, we did have to deliver him. They wanted to make sure I got that shot to help develop his lungs and something else to help develop his brain, because at only 25 weeks, he's, still really small and developing. So if we did go into to labor and fully deliver the baby, they wanted to make sure that he was as safe as possible. So thank God that I was able to get that shot. I feel like that really did help tremendously. I was supposed to get 2 shots, but I only was able to get 1 by the grace of God.
Yeah.
So they're telling me this. They're telling me that if they are able to stop the labor, that I will have to be in the hospital for the remainder of the pregnancy, and that they're going to do all they can to stop the labor. But however, we're at Corona Regional. Corona Regional does not have a NICU. Right. So they're going to need to transfer me to another hospital, which was UC Irvine. So all this information is being thrown at me, and I'm in the room by myself because we have our 3-year-old in the car with him because he can't bring him in. So you want to tell how when you called, what you were feeling at that moment?
Yeah, so when she called me as I was parking the car, when you get a phone call from your wife and she's crying, saying that they're saying that she's in preterm labor, and she's upset because she knows that it's too early for the baby to come and we don't know what's going to happen. So I'm automatically trying to stay calm, but I'm internally freaking out as well. So I immediately called my in-laws and let them know that we were in the hospital, that possibly in preterm labor, and that I needed them to come to watch Kendon so that I could be in the room with Kendra. So they were actually in Temecula. So they said that they would be there. For any of you who travel to the IE on a weekend, you know that it's crazy traffic. So they were about an hour out. So I just kind of had to sit in the waiting room, and that was probably the longest hour of life because everything was going through my head. And, of course, when you hear that there's a danger with your child, you automatically go for the worst. So I was trying to combat those thoughts. So by the time that my in-laws got there, came in immediately, so I was able to go back and see what was going on with Kendra. So by the time I got there, that's when they started to discuss that she was in preterm labor and that if they weren't able to stop it, we would have to unfortunately deliver. But they also mentioned that if they were able to stop it, she would have to pretty much go on bed rest and have to stay in the hospital for the next 3 months until she delivered. So it was just a out of body experience. Like, I was hearing all of the information, but in the back of my mind, I was just thinking, how are we going to do this? We have a 3-year-old. I have to work. We were in the process of selling our home and in escrow for the new home. And I was thinking, I got to pack by myself. It was just a lot going on. It's like, God, this is just crazy. I remember I was in the room and you said, well, if this is going to be the case, why don't you go to the house and pack some stuff up so that, we can just be prepared. Mm-hmm. So I got Kendon and we went back to our house. Kendon and I arrived to the house, and I just remember just kind of walking through the house in a daze, packing little things for Kendra, getting some things for myself, and then putting some clothes and things together for Kendon so that he could stay with my in-laws until we knew what we were going to do. And I remember him saying he was hungry, so I kind of set him up with a snack downstairs so that I could go upstairs and handle all of that. And like, as I was doing it, I remember crying and just asking God to just intercede and cover the whole situation. Mm-hmm. And so I packed up everything and headed back to the hospital. And by the time I got back, you were on the bed.
I was calling you on the way.
Yeah, and you kept saying that you were experiencing more and more severe contractions. And when I got there, like, you just were in excruciating pain.
So fast forward. So while that's going on, my mom is there with me. She's praying. My mom is a prayer warrior, for any of you guys that don't know. Yeah. So she is the best person to be there. So she's praying, but she's also counting my contractions because they had already called over to UCI to let them know that they needed someone to come and transport me to the hospital, me just myself, because I would be pregnant, right? So the nurse gets there and she's like, okay, so let me check you. So by the time she got there and checked me, which was maybe like 30-40 minutes later from me arriving, remind you, I was 1.5 centimeters when I got there. About 45 minutes later when she checked me, I was 3 centimeters. Yeah. So she's like, okay, so you are progressing. The medicine that we're giving you doesn't seem to be working. So we're going to go ahead and call UCI to see if they can send over a NICU unit. So they're going to send over another ambulance with a NICU incubator in there to help transport if you do have the baby. So she checks me. She's like, okay. She goes away. Me and my mom are sitting there. The contractions are just coming harder. Every minute, they're just coming harder and harder. They're not seeing it on the monitor every time because the baby is so small. I can feel it, but it's not picking up on the monitor every time. So at this point, I'm like, y'all, the baby is going to come. Can I please have an epidural? Because I had an epidural with Kendon. As soon as I got there, I asked for an epidural.
Get down.
Yeah, so the contractions were coming super strong. My mom is tracking them. They're coming about every minute and a half. I didn't have any medicine. I had an epidural with Kendon. So I wasn't used to this. I was not used to feeling all of the pain, every contraction. Like, I'm sitting there like, please give me something. Like,
right.
With Kendon, as soon as we got to the hospital, I was already 5 centimeters. So they were preparing to give me my epidural and everything like that. So I got it within the first hour of being at the hospital with Kendon. Yeah. So with being in full-blown labor, no medication, not even a bit of Tylenol, I was like losing it. So my mom is like, okay, just breathe, calm down, whatever. So they come in, they do an ultrasound. They're giving me all the medicines that they can give me. And I'm telling them, like, it's not working. The contractions are not slowing down. They're speeding up. Nothing is working. So they're kind of listening to me, but not really. And so my mom, she keeps telling them, she's like, her contractions are getting closer and closer. So the nurse comes back and she's like, mind you, this is probably 10 or 15 minutes later. And I'm at 5 centimeters, right? So she's like, okay, yeah, she's not going to make it. See how far the
NICU team is.
The NICU team is, and they're scrambling and because they're not prepared for this. This is, like I said, a small hospital. They don't have a NICU unit available. So they're scrambling, trying to get things together. My mom's still praying. I'm in excruciating pain. So by this time, he's already back. Mm-hmm. I'm like doing what I do when I have babies. Some reason, when I have babies, he comes next to me and I'm just like,
I'm like, Lord.
I'm like tearing him up. I'm like, you did this to me. No, I was kidding.
And mama's like, don't let her do that. Like, a pregnant woman is so her
strong.
Strength is, no. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
You do whatever you can do. But you stand there and let me beat you up, okay? So,
and I did.
Yeah, so I'm crying and he's being so strong and everything. And when it kind of slows down a little bit, I'm like looking at his face and I could just see he's completely overwhelmed. He's a thinker and a planner. So I know in his mind, he's like, logistically, how's this going to work? And blah, 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 blah. And mind you, we're switching from, in his mind, it's like, okay, so we're going to be in the hospital for 3 months to, oh my God, the baby's coming, right?
Yeah.
So I just look at his face. I'm like, babe, just take a break. Just take a minute, right?
It was much needed.
So he goes outside for a little bit. By the time he comes back, like, it's a wrap. Like, it's just going down, right? So I'm like, you need to get her, right?
Yeah, I felt like we was like 7 when I got back.
Yeah, once he got back, we're probably at like 7 or 8, right?
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm like, get the nurse, right? Yeah. I'm like, he's coming. She's like, hold on. She's like, you guys need to prep the other room and blah, 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 blah. She's like yelling out all these codes and stuff. And so I'm like, he's coming right now. And they're like, what? I'm like, he's coming right now. The nurse barely puts her hand down there to check me, and she could feel it. So she's like, he's crowning.
Yeah.
So all these people run into the room, and they're like kicking the bed up, trying to push me out the room. I'm like, he's coming. They're like, hold it, sweetie, hold it. I'm like, I can't hold it. He's coming, right? And mind you, like when you don't have an epidural, you feel everything. So I felt him moving down. I felt him crowning. I felt everything. So they pushed me into the hallway, and before the room that they were putting me in was right next door. They pushed me into the hallway, and as soon as they turn, he comes right out. Like, I don't even remember pushing. I feel like I was just like trying to say something, and he popped out because he was so small.
Yeah.
So so he literally popped out. He's on the bed at this point, and I couldn't even tell them because I just had a big sigh of relief because I was in so much pain. So they pushed me into the room, and then the nurse is so funny. This nurse is like, okay, sweetie, so okay, sweetie, so his head is crowning, so he's almost there. We just got to get the shoulders out. And I'm like, I like lift up my gown, like he's already on the bed, and you just hear the smallest little cry.
So faint.
So faint. And all I can remember saying was like, thank you, Jesus, because when your baby is that small, 25 weeks, for those you don't know, you have to go to 40 weeks is full term. So I was barely over the halfway mark. And there's so many things that needed to develop more. So I was just so scared in my mind. I don't even know what I was thinking. I was just kind of was just like blank. And, you know, I was praying, but I was just still like blank. Like, I'm a very emotional person. Like, I usually cry at the drop of a dime. Like, I cry at commercials and everything. I couldn't even cry. Like, I was just so, I don't even know. I don't even have the words. I just didn't know what was going on. I didn't understand why this was happening. I literally had no complications. My blood pressure was always fine. Even while I was in the hospital, my blood pressure wasn't skyrocketing or too low or anything. Like, his heartbeat was fine. Like, it was just really strange that my water broke. I'm just like, this is so random. And everybody that asked me, like, so what happened? I'm just like, my water randomly broke. Like, I didn't do anything extra. Like, it's just really strange. So anyway, he comes out. He gives that little faint cry. We're like, whoo, thank you, Jesus. My mom is still praying in the spirit out loud. Right. The nurses are praying. Yeah. Like, God was just in the midst of everything. Like, my doctor happened to be there. And when they ask me, when they do your paperwork, they're like, oh, so who delivered the baby? And I'm just like, nobody. Like, right. He just came out. But it would have been the nurse that like checked me in and everything. She actually delivered the baby because she, you know, helped me deliver the placenta and everything like that. So she was amazing. She was praying as well. Like, God just sent the angels to be there for us. And even the team that was there, they're not really, of course, you know, they went to school, so they know how to do things. But like I said, they're not a NICU hospital. Right. So they pulled it together because the ambulance with the incubator had not arrived yet. They were stuck in traffic. Right. So they pulled together. They put Bryson in a bag. They put an oxygen mask over his face, and they made a human incubator. Yeah. And so they're over there taking his vitals and everything, and they're like, oh my gosh, he's such a warrior. Like, they just kept saying like so many encouraging and positive things. They're like, wow, he's opening his eyes. He's crying. They're like, these are all great signs that, you know, he's gonna be fine. They're like, he is a fighter. Look how strong he is. He was moving his arms. Mind you, he's 1 pound 14 ounces, so he's tiny. Like, I'll insert some pictures so you guys can see how small he was. It was just so amazing. So my mom was taking pictures and taking videos and praying. And so I'm glad she still captured all those moments, because this is not how we planned for our delivery to go at all. So I had Child, I had plans for this pregnancy, okay? Because a lot of stuff with Kendon, a lot of stuff didn't go the way that I wanted it to go. So I was like, oh, we're going to have matching outfits. I'm going to do my makeup. I'm about to be lit, right? God had other plans. So, wow. So anyway, they take care of him. 45 minutes later, the incubator comes. They put him in and they transport us both to UCI. They're like, oh, do you want to leave with the baby or do you want to leave now? I'm like, I'm waiting. I will follow him. So we get there, they set him up. Brandon's able to go in there. They're still checking me and making sure all these things, because for me, physically, I felt fine. Like right after I had him, I could walk around. Like he was so small that I felt fine. But they're like, oh, you need to take it easy and things like that. So I'm glad that they made me sit down, because after I felt it. But anyway, he was fine. They got him there. They never had to intubate him. They hooked him up to the CPAP machine and he was like chilling. So he didn't have any birth defects or anything like that. During his time in the NICU, he did have he got sick once. And they feel like that set him back a little bit as far as his lung development. So as far as his lung development, that kind of set him back a little bit. So that's why he's still on oxygen. But he's doing really well. He's thriving. He did really well in the NICU. He was there 115 days. It was about a week after his term date when he went home. But he did really, really well. We were so excited to finally bring him home, but it was just a traumatic experience being going back and forth to the NICU every day. When we first got there, we didn't have anything planned. My parents ended up taking Kendon for us so we can get situated and get our bearings together. But thank God they had a social worker available for us. Right. And they sat down with us and they're like, this is how this is going to go. These are the resources that are available to you. Hold on, buddy. These are the resources that are available to you. So they set us up with Ronald McDonald House, right. Which was amazing because it was 5 minutes away from the hospital. It's basically a house that has several suites in there. So you have your bedroom, bathroom, a closet, and they're for families who have children in either Children's Hospital or UCI. And you can stay there for free. All they ask for is a $5 a day. Is a week or a day?
Donation. I think it's
a week.
It's a day.
$5 a day donation, which is nothing. I mean, you're staying in a nice hotel-like setting with 2 meals a day plus snacks. Right. They have refrigerators for you so you can bring your own things if you need to. But volunteers come and make a full breakfast for you every day. And around 3:00, they bring treats. So like cookies and Rice Krispie treats, fresh baked goods every day at 3:00. And then at dinner, a full dinner for you. And then a lot of people stay at the hospital late. I know when we were going, we were there from 11 a.m. to sometimes 11 p.m. Yeah. So, but you can always come in and look in the refrigerator and they have the leftovers packed up for you. It was just an amazing thing that they had set up for us to go for free. And then if they don't have space there, they'll set you up in a hotel. Yeah. So God was just looking out. We stayed there for about 2 weeks while Brandon was off work, but we did end up going home once he was going back to work because we wouldn't have anybody to take care of Kendon out in that area. So after that, my dad watched Kendon for me while I would go to the hospital. So I would drop off Kendon to my dad in the mornings, and then I would go to the hospital. For a while, we were going every day, and then Brandon would come in the evening. So then after a while, after about a month, we were like, okay, we can't do this every day.
It's not sustainable.
So I would go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then he would go Tuesday, Thursday, and then we would both go on the weekends together. Right. So God just made a way for us to work it out. We also got other resources. Miracle Babies. They were amazing.
Yeah.
They gave us donations for gas. They set up two, like a Christmas party for us, for all the families in the NICU.
They had a cool Valentine's Day thing. And you got to make different crafts for the families that were there.
Baby shower.
Yeah, the baby shower.
They gave out really good gifts for the baby shower. Some families got cribs, diapers, strollers, high chairs, whatever you needed. Everything was free, and they had a nice, beautiful reception for us. So we were just really blessed throughout the process. It was a lot of things that we weren't expecting. You know, we didn't know what to expect. We met some amazing families in there. Shout out to Erica if you're watching this. She has triplets who are born on the same day as Bryson. And so we keep in contact, and God bless them because they had 3, okay?
Yeah.
And they were killing it in the NICU, like coming every day. She's pumping for 3 babies. Like, it's just so amazing to watch the other families, and everybody was making sacrifices, but it really makes a difference in how well your child does in the NICU if you make those sacrifices and come and be there and talk to the doctors and the nurses. We had an amazing primary nurse.
Shout out to Donna.
She was such a blessing to us.
And Amy.
Yes, like knowing that they were caring for our son just made us sleep better at night. The facility was so clean.
Yes.
God, I'm just telling you, our church family was praying for us, our family members, our friends, you guys. We just thank you so much for being on this journey with us. It's been a whirlwind, but
to say the least.
I just can't believe we made it to the other side. You know, going day by day, it just seems like it's going forever. And I'm seeing people that I was pregnant with have their babies at home, and people leaving the NICU, coming in and leaving like that.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch.
Yeah.
But it's a blessing to go through it, because before I left, I met another mom. So you have to turn the light on. Anyways, before I left, I met another mom who was in our exact position. Her story very similar, 25-weeker. And I was able to encourage her and let her know that the stage that she was in wasn't going to last forever, and that yes, our baby had to experience some of the same things that she did, but we're almost out of here, you know? And it was encouraging for her to see someone that came from the same point as her get to where we were.
Yeah.
And so it was just such a blessing to be there and to watch Bryson grow from the outside. From 1 pound 14 ounces to when he left, he was
just about 10
just
pounds.
about 10 pounds 4 months later. So a little less than 4 months later. So we're just grateful. This is our story. It will forever be our story. I'm grateful for it. I've never been through anything like this in life. And there's Bryson, and there's our Q.
I feel like a lot of the things that people normally jump to immediately is just, making sure that the mommy is okay. And I definitely think that that's a natural thing, because of course she's the person that went through it and such, but it was, I actually had a really great support system as well. Through my profession, I was able to connect with a lot of dads that had also experienced the NICU. So I had a great resource and just circle of support. I had a good circle of support that I was able to tap into. And it was just really inspiring to hear, as Kendra said before, people that had gone through the same experience and were able to tell us that the things that we were going through was just going to be short-lived. And I think the most valuable advice I was given was that the NICU journey is a roller coaster, and it's full of its ups and downs, and you're going to have your good days, your not so good days. Don't call them bad days, but just not so good days. So as Kendra said before, when Bryson had gotten sick, it was so small, it had a great impact. And so it definitely affected the way that he engaged with us on a regular basis. We just could really see it changed in his demeanor altogether. So that definitely took us just by surprise. And, it had its own emotional impacts on us as a family and then individually as well. And just for me as a husband, I think this was probably the experience that really just strengthened my relationship with God. And I think in everything you do, there's always that claim that there's total dependence on him. But in this specific instance, that was literally all we could do. Everything was beyond our control. And as things continue to progress, all we could do was say that, Lord, we trust you and that we leave this in your hands. So, you know, throughout this thing, I would say that I was able to experience the true definition of faith.
So that's our story. We thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in. This will probably be a little bit of a lengthy video, but we hope you guys made it to the end. Continue to pray for us.
Yes.
Thank you for being on this journey with us.
Come over here.
Okay.
And
Yeah, of course.
Say bye.
Bye.
Hold on.
So we just thank you for being on this journey with us. Thank you for praying with our little guy.
Bye.
And he has this little shirt on.
Not yet.
His shirt on that says Bryson. And the scripture is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Yeah.
So we are so grateful
Wait.
for you guys and for being with us on this journey. We hope that you guys continue to watch our family.
Yes.
Pray for our family. Subscribe, like, and comment on this video.
And if you know anyone that is going through this similar experience, just don't hesitate to love on them. Encouraging words, prayers, they go a long way. And we thank you guys for helping us through ours.
Amen.
Peace.